You recording me on, I don't know if I want to say this while you're recording.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. almost anything you do, I want you to understand that we will try to support you in making it happen. Okay, and I think sometimes a lot of our groups sort of think like, oh man, they'll never let us do that. Well, there might be some things we need to do to make sure it happens, or to permit it to happen, or for it to be done well. But there's almost, we're really here to take and support you as students. And so it might be painful, but it's possible. We can do it. Important numbers to know. This is all information on the University Center website. These are all of the, a lot of the rooms on campus and sort of the phone number to take and reserve those. Yeah. Who's in charge of the MAC or in the Lone Star Theater? Anybody use the Lone Star Theater? Anyone ever used it before? You got to go over and reserve that through campus recreation or the MAC in their building. Most things are really reserved by building, if that makes sense. So if it's in that building and it's a special use facility, that building manages that reservation. Academic spaces are sort of unique. They're all reserved through a system called Astra and through the registrar's office. Our website has a couple of event planning guides. I would encourage you to check them out. If you've got someone in your organization that is the event planning person, say, here, go check these out. Good information. Questions? So here's my top 10 for event planning. Gather input and ideas. Work with your organization, work with your group, gather input, gather ideas. Know what people are looking for, what people want to do. Who else should be involved in the conversation? Are there other people around that need to be around the table to make the event happen? And set some realistic goals for it. Knowing that, let's be real, you're not going to get 5,000 people to the first time you do that lecture potentially. But you might get 500 people. So set realistic goals for what your expectations are for that event. Be specific, select a date and a time for that event, obviously. I mean, you got to know where you're going. You got to have that target. So that date and time usually is that other really important piece. And establish a timeline. Know what the event needs to look like and what you need to do to get that event accomplished. So create a timeline for that event or for that program. But determine your budget, determine those priorities. You've got to really know what it is that you want to accomplish. And your budget can be a big determining factor in that. So know what that budget is and determine those priorities. Select and reserve the appropriate locations to make sure the room is the right kind of room for what you're wanting to do. Design that effective publicity. Make sure that it's useful. We'll talk a little bit about marketing here in a minute. Make a supply list. I think so often, we never sit down and think like, what do I really need to do at that concession stand? You got to make a supply list. You got to really think about what it's going to take to serve snow cones sometimes. Oh, I didn't get anything to scoop the ice out of the thing with. Oh, I'll just use my hand. Whatever the case may be. So make sure you make that supply list and really think through some of those kinds of details. And I can't stress enough, I think when you're doing event planning, send thank you notes. There are a lot of people usually that help you in making those events happen. And make sure you acknowledge and recognize it. It's just a great way to show support and get people connected. They're more likely to take and help you do even more the next time. So there's a couple of top 10s for event planning. I've got copies of those, so you can kind of share it with your group if you want. Some of those are kind of expanded upon. But just kind of an easy way to kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to be doing an event, here are some things that we need to make sure we think about. It is not by any means, it's supposed to be the all-encompassing everything you need to do to plan an event. There is that on our website with that student organization planning document that was mentioned earlier. So just as a resource and a reference to keep in mind about event planning. Any thoughts, comments, or questions? Any successful events that you've done or been a part of in the past?
Yes.
Yeah, what was successful?
Last semester, the Vegan Club had a bake sale to raise money for an organization called Promise Worldwide, which helps children in India go to school. And these kids are so poor, like their parents, if they're lucky, their parents make like $2 a day. And so they don't have money for things like food, much less things like books and stuff. So Promise Worldwide helps those children be able to go to school and like eat, things like that.
Very
so
cool.
we raised money for that. It was very successful. We raised over $300.
And is that what made it successful? Like you raised more money than you expected, or like what made it successful?
Probably the fact that we were out there and like we had this great big poster with like kids' faces on it, and we're like, help these kids get food, you know. And people were like, oh, okay, here, just have $20. I don't even want a brownie. So it was kind of nice.
So you met your goal though in terms of awareness and
Mm-hmm.
fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
To the good, that makes it successful.
Yeah.
Successful. Any unsuccessful events you've been a part of? Like that was horrible. We will never do that again. No? I've been a part of some flops before. That's okay.
You just don't talk about
We don't talk about them. I've forgotten all about those. Suppress that memory. I think usually when we think about events that are unsuccessful, it usually has something to do with, you know, in most of my, you know, it's sort of just unplanned. You know, it becomes stressful and everyone's sort of running around last minute trying to do everything. And a lot of that comes down to, you know, the event being planned well and running smoothly. Of course, the objective sometimes even might still have been met. Oh, we made some money, or we increased some awareness, or our movie started and ended on time and everyone had a good time. But, you know, behind the scenes it might have been completely ridiculous. And that sort of is up to everybody based on what you think is going to determine it and make it successful. But keeping that in mind, okay? All right, let's move into sort of marketing and advertising and promoting your events and activities and yourself on campus. So when we talk about marketing, we talk about promotions, and we talk about advertising on campus. There are, and I'm going to sort of focus as kind of like obviously on campus kinds of things, because I think that's where most people kind of get stuck with stuff. On campus advertising and promotion is something that, you know, I'll kind of go back and like, if there's some things you want to do, come talk to us, let us know. But we do have quite a few rules. You know, most of the time we think of advertising and marketing on campus, they're like your ad here, you know, I got this billboard, I got this wall, put something on it. And that's a very effective way for us to do it. Every time we ever do a survey about how do people find out about events or activities on campus, without a doubt, up at the top is always, any guesses? Yeah, good old fashioned, like those core things, just getting a decent poster up on the wall, a banner outside on the side of the building. Now, more and more every year, the electronic means of communication, the social media always are right up there now anymore. You know, several years ago they were, you know, like still third or fourth now, but anymore they're right up there with the good old fashioned poster. And I think there's always still something to be said for that. So I mean, definitely the your ad here philosophy definitely works. The your ad here philosophy definitely works. You know, case in point, Rita's doing a very good job of sporting her organizational gear. And that's the kind of thing I think is your members can be an invaluable tool for you. Women's soccer, great example. Hey, there's a soccer game tonight. You know, having it's very intentional that the women who are on your team are wearing that shirt, you know, on the day before a soccer game, so people know, oh, there's a soccer game at the stadium that the women's soccer club is doing. Awesome, let's go. And so I think, you know, making sure that you are telling that message and thinking about those kinds of things, taking advantage of those members, taking advantage of those core things that you can do that are really still very effective. Word of mouth, talking to people, asking people, having that conversation, showing interest in what they do is going to get them to have interest in what you do as well. So making sure you're doing that. So making sure you use approved posting locations on campus is always one of those things that we'll talk about. And so I've got this lovely document I'll give all of you that says, here's where you can put the poster. And it's useful. It lists lots, I think for most people they're kind of like, oh wow, that's a lot of places. I didn't realize you could put a poster for that places on campus. My general rule of thumb I will give you is if nobody else has put up a poster there, you're probably not supposed to put up a poster there. Just a good general rule, you know. Oh, no one put any posters up on this whole empty, beautiful blank wall. I'll put mine right here. Usually means you're not supposed to put a poster there. So keep that in mind. Usually if you see a place where there are the posters put up, that's usually where you're supposed to put them. The university does, believe it or not, actually go around and take things down. We do have people that part of their job is to go around and take things off the bulletin board that don't have our approved posting location on them.